Coming up, the Little Leaguers got to see some Major League late game heroics at Williamsport. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
Welcome, and you're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. We've got all of our MLB hosts here ready to recap the action for you from Sunday. We're going to start out with the Baltimore Orioles, who put on a good show for the kids in yesterday's biggest game.
The biggest game.
A special night at the Little League Classic ended in a Baltimore Orioles win after Jorge Mateo broke a tie with the Red Sox in the 8th inning. Our Locked On Orioles host recaps a win that keeps Baltimore in the playoff hunt.
It was a big series win at the Little League Classic for the Orioles as they take down the Red Sox 5-3 on Sunday Night Baseball. First national TV appearance in a long time for the O's, but they take the huge series, 2 out of 3 from Boston, stick just 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. But how about Jorge Mateo in this game? Gets the huge hit, the bases clearing 3 RBI double in the 8th to break the tie, give the O's a 5-2 lead that they would close out in the 9th inning. And Mateo, he's just been spectacular, hitting .338 now in August, an OPS over 1,000 this month. Out of the 9-hole for the Orioles, he's arguably been their best hitter, and he's hitting 9th. He's making this lineup better. Hopefully they can keep it up, and I'll recap the weekend series win for the O's coming up on Monday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
The Astros beat the Braves to avoid a sweep in Atlanta. Starter Jose Urquidy beat the Braves again, and Locked On Astros tells us how he did it.
Hey, y'all, H-Town Wheelhouse here with Locked On Astros, and the Astros hang on to win 5-4, escape Atlanta without being swept. Jose Urquidy, phenomenal outing once again. He is 3-0 versus the Atlanta Braves. No other pitcher has a better record against the Atlanta Braves. The Astros came through with some late inning hits, with some key 2-out hits and hits with runners on base, and they did just enough to, again, avoid the sweep in Atlanta. They have a day off Monday before Carlos Correa comes back to Houston to play in Minute Maid Park for the first time as an opposing player. So stay tuned in to Locked On Astros. We got some great episodes coming up this week. We've got an Astros minor leaguer we'll be interviewing and putting that up. So look for that on YouTube. Listen to us on Apple, Google, or Spotify, and check us out on your way to work, on your way home from work, or wherever you get your podcast. Remember, we are your team every day. Go Stros.
The Kansas City Royals put up just 4 hits and lost to the Rays in Tampa Bay on Sunday night. Locked On Royals says these kind of disappointments have become far too familiar this season.
The Kansas City Royals played the Tampa Bay Rays on Sunday, and they lost yet again to one of the best teams in the American League, a playoff team in the American League. The season's not gone the way Kansas City wanted, and it was no different over the course of this weekend. They lost Thursday, came back and bounced back on Friday and got a win, but that was their only win of the series. They fall in this series 3-1, and Sunday's game was much of the same we've seen this season. Zach Greinke not very good, through 4 innings, had some tightness in his forearm, and the Royals were not able to do enough offensively, only mustering up 4 hits on the entire afternoon. One of those hits, though, was a double by Bobby Witt Jr., who, of course, is the beacon of hope for Kansas City. And that's all we have in this contest as the Royals fall 3-2.
Coming up, the Dodgers and Yankees keep winning on opposite coasts. This is Locked On Game to Game. Today's edition of Game to Game MLB is brought to you by BetOnline, the #1 spot for all of your online sports gambling needs. Football is right around the corner, so if you want to get in on that action or put bets in on any other sport, you just head over to betonline.net. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Game to Game your first listen every single weekday. Evan Longoria did it all to get yesterday's best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
Whether it be with the bat or the glove, Evan Longoria was definitely the star on Sunday for the San Francisco Giants against the Rockies. Locked On Giants tells you how a little bit of everything from the veteran helped beat Colorado.
Much needed win for the Giants in Denver as they avoid the sweep. Evan Longoria played hero today as he had one of the better individual performances you'll ever see on both sides of the ball. Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. Longoria hit what was almost a home run. He hit a grand slam. He made a couple of amazing defensive plays, including an incredible barehanded play on a high chopper against a really fast runner. Just a crazy play and great game for him individually. Jacob Junis was also really good as the starting pitcher. He did give up a couple of homers, but it was Coors Field, and overall he pitched really well. Unfortunately for him, his day ended when he got nailed in the non-throwing hand by a line drive. I think it was in the 7th inning. So x-rays came back negative. Hopefully he is okay, but it looks like he may have dodged a bullet, so to speak. But anyway, just overall a much needed win for the Giants, who even with the win are still 6 games out of the wild card race. So they really couldn't have afforded to get swept by the Rockies, which would have been their 5th straight loss following 5 straight wins, which is kind of how the season has gone, crazy as that seems. But anyway, we'll break this one down, talk about the upcoming series against the Tigers on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Rockies didn't win the series finale, but our Locked On Rockies host still wasn't too upset after a series win and a good showing for the home fans over the weekend.
Rock on Rockies fans. Paul Holden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast. Well, they can't get the sweep. They can't get the comeback, but it was a pretty good weekend at the Yard for the Rockies. They played the Giants pretty darn well and came back after going down after the big grand slam. Kyle Freeland was pitching pretty darn good up until that grand slam. Things to enjoy. Eleris Montero is hitting home runs and is looking great. Ryan McMahon on a 4-game hitting streak. Brendan Rodgers looking good yet again. It's going to be a really an interesting last 40 games of the season. Unfortunate for the Rockies that they can't get the sweep today, but not too bad of a weekend for the Purple Pinstripes, and a lot of players there stepping up. Wynton Bernard continuing to contribute here while he has his time up in the big leagues. So a bummer there today, but they made it interesting and just came short of the sweep. Beating the Giants is always fun, and we'll be breaking it all down right here on Locked On Rockies.
The New York Yankees beat the Blue Jays to extend their lead in the AL East. Locked On Yankees looks at how New York can continue to keep the rest of the division at arm's length.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees won a game. It's a miracle. A true blue spectacle. A miracle come true. If you're old, you get that reference. Anyway, the Yankees beat the Blue Jays 4-2 at the stadium, prevent the 4-game sweep, prevent the division lead from shrinking to 6. Now it's back up to 8. That feels a lot better. I know that's ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth, and it probably sounds ridiculous to you, but yes, 8 is a lot better than 6, so okay, feeling much better about this. In the battle of Alek Manoah and Nestor Cortez, it actually became a battle between Alek Manoah and Garrett Cole somehow, because Alek Manoah hit Aaron Judge with a pitch, and Cole didn't like that too much and came out of the dugout and gave Manoah a piece of his mind. Manoah waited till after the game to say something to the beat writers about it. Don't you love baseball? It's the best. Anyway, the Yankees' reward for eking out this last win against the Blue Jays? The Mets for 2, and Scherzer and DeGrom. We'll have a preview of that series on the next Locked On Yankees and a review of this series. Should be a good one.
The Dodgers got the best of the Miami Marlins Cy Young candidate on Sunday. Our Locked On Dodgers host tells you how the LA lineup beat Sandy Alcantara.
Well, just as we all predicted in the Ryan Pepio versus Sandy Alcantara matchup, the Dodgers blew out the Marlins. What's up? It's Jeff from Locked On Dodgers. Dodgers scored 10 runs, had 16 hits. It's hard to mention everybody who contributes when you get that much offense. And, you know, they got great pitching too. And really, Ryan Pepio was maybe the story of this game. Went 6 innings for the first time in his career, allowed just 1 2-run homer. Got a show of confidence from Dave Roberts in the 6th inning. After the first out, he looked at the dugout and Roberts said, keep going. And he got the last 2 outs, kind of re-energized Pepio. He seemed to throw more strikes after that vote of confidence. Big moment for him. On the offensive side, Will Smith had 3 hits, drove in 3 runs. Joey Gallo had 2 hits, also made 2 great plays on defense. Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy both homered. Like I said, it's too many players contributing to mention all of them in a little minute and a half video. But the good news is we also have a 30-minute podcast every weekday morning where we will have plenty of time to talk about everybody who contributed to this win and the Dodgers series sweep over the Marlins this weekend. It was a great team series, great sweep, and great momentum heading into the next series. So be sure to check out Locked On Dodgers first thing in the morning like you do every day. Make us your hashtag first listen.
Jake Fraley stuck out again for the Reds as he continues to swing the bat really well, and Cincinnati won in Pittsburgh. Locked On Reds looks into how Fraley fits into the rebuild for Cincy.
The Cincinnati Reds get the best of the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh thanks to Rake Fraley. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and Rake Fraley is looking phenomenal. He got on base pretty much more often than he got out this weekend. That was phenomenal to see. Plus, he hit a couple of homers, including one into the Allegheny River. He is on fire, and he's starting to make me wonder exactly what his future is with this team. We've talked about him as a fourth outfielder, but could he be more? This could be an interesting development for the future of this Reds franchise. We'll have to see. He's got to do it over a longer stretch of time, but he has been so good over the last couple of weeks. Plus, you saw more good pitching from Alexis Diaz on Sunday, showing you the quality. I know that he gave up a couple of inherited runners a few days back, but on Sunday, he showed you he is absolutely dynamite, and he is the leader of this bullpen of the future for the Cincinnati Reds. Reds take 2 out of 3 from Pittsburgh, now heading to Philadelphia for all four night games against the Phillies, and we've got a bullpen day on Monday. Gonna be interesting. Make sure you check out Locked On Reds. I'm going to be talking with Ethan Smith to break down this series, and we're going to look at some future Reds Pirates players in this series in a couple of years. You're not going to want to miss it.
That's all for today on Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you go check out Locked On MLB and your team's Locked On podcast. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.